be no conflict of interest.
So they should not be tempted?
They should not be tempted.
Okay.
So you have to look after them very well. That's why the cost is there, plus the fees, of course. So that's why you can't take all of it out.
It does make sense. Patrick, let's perhaps get into the part of, I think for all of us, let's bring it back to the Ugandan, a regular person who's probably not in business, and how that accreditation affects the regular, everyday person in terms of health, in terms of food, and of course as the association itself. What does that have to do with me as a regular Ugandan? I go to the pharmacy and I go get whatever thing they tell me to get, and I get it. I go to the laboratory and I want a DNA test. I do, I do whatever I want. How does this affect the Ugandan?
In two ways. The food we are eating, first of all, right now we know that, I was checking the other day, they were saying that Ugandans used over about 50 different chemicals in the farms. Now, the foods, when it's not tested, you can't be sure of those chemicals, how it's affecting you. And that's why it's very important to test, to be sure that that food is tested and then it's certified that it's of good health. And right now we have a lot of cancers coming in the country. And we are not sure where these cancers are coming from. Maybe it's from those. So even for our own consumption, the ordinary person, the food we eat on a daily basis, whether at home or in the restaurant, you should be sure that...
So if I'm understanding you correctly, you're saying there's a lot of different cancers that are coming into the country. Is this from the medicines or is this from the food mainly? Explain that a little more.
No, it's food. It's to me, I think food is contributing a lot. The exposure of the things we are getting into our body. That's one. But the other aspect of the ordinary Ugandan, let's come to Ebola, for example, and probably COVID. You see, when Ebola happens, when an outbreak, like when it happened in Mubende, there was, a closure. The president said, Mubende and Kasanda people, you cannot move.
Go anywhere.
And of course, that affects everyday's life. People were dying there. And so eventually, it's until now that Ebola outbreak is contained, that's when people can start moving with their daily lives. So that affects everybody, everyday Ugandan. Now, the beauty with the Ebola and, outbreak investigations generally, Uganda has actually developed a system, and now we have trust, talking about trust. We have trust because you've had that recently we had Ebola outbreak in February, March, and it was declared in April that we no longer have Ebola. For that whole outbreak, only 2 people died. Okay, of course, 2 people dying, it's a big thing. But when you compared with 11,000 people died in West Africa when Ebola happened, where there is no system, you can be sure that our system is good. And because of that, we've now built trust. Even the globe now trusts us. Right now, for example, the Ministry of Health, the Department of National Health Laboratory and Diagnostic Services, where I work, is now being sorted. Countries around Africa now come to our help, say, you help us build the systems. Currently, we are supporting 23 countries on the African continent to build their system with support from the Global Fund. And of course, if we build that system very well, including the accreditation service that we are building, we shall also be getting to have some of those countries will come for accreditation service, and we shall also be able to support them. And of course, that will bring, finances in the country. So 2 things, like I've said, in terms of the ordinary person, the food we eat should be safe, and of course the environment and everything, but also the diseases. If outbreaks are, done and tests, done within with accuracy within a shortest period of time and contained, that means we can eventually continue with our daily lives. But also that outbreak itself doesn't, kill a lot of people like it has happened elsewhere, because we have the system that has been built because of the accreditation and quality.
Now, you touched on food. Let's touch on food. Continue to get on the food. Because it's something that we all deal with here.
Yeah, because every day we have to eat.
Yes.
And therefore, that is a very high risk. At Hot Fresh, we have a new campaign, and we are and a new slogan saying food safety for all. Because in the past, we have all been struggling to comply to international market requirements, forgetting that this food originates from our own homes. And we have also discovered that it is very difficult to have parallel production systems at the farm level. You cannot, at a farm level, you cannot have a system to produce safe food for export, and as well as another system for producing just the tomatoes full of chemicals and whatever for the local market. And therefore, since he has mentioned, it is very, very important that we maintain the safety of all of us, because he mentioned of high rise of cancers and so forth. Therefore, accreditation is coming in to help us strengthen local certification bodies. Incidentally, I'm a board member on UGOSAT. It is a local certification body. It has to function independently, like he has said, because we have to build trust, we have to be consistency and ensure that everything is okay. So such bodies should be built, and also strengthening the laboratories so that they can afford to be accredited, and therefore the results from those laboratories are acceptable internationally, and also goes to the inspection bodies. So for us,
I'm curious to find out when you first found out about Uganas, and then you decided then to go into the system for accreditation. How did that happen for you?
My background, incidentally, is in standards.
Okay.
So by the time I became a businessman,
yes,
and by the time I became a consultant,
you knew that standards needed to be on a certain level.
I knew how difficult it was for the public, for the government, to understand, the private sector, to understand the importance of accreditation. And therefore, I take any opportunity to go out and talk about it with the confidence. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now let's talk about several other businesses. We are a country that people can pop up and open a pharmacy, and pop up and open another food store, and do a whole bunch of stuff. There's that level of freedom to some extent. Who exactly is supposed to be accredited?
Who exactly is supposed to be accredited? In a number of areas.
Okay.
Accreditation for testing laboratories.
Yes.
He talked about the health laboratories, and we are talking about the food safety laboratories.
Yes.
Even
Chemistry,
engineering.
even engineering. Materials, engineering materials.
Okay.
These are which you use. You know, cement has to be tested.
Because they have chemicals of all sorts.
Chemicals of all that. So that is another area in testing laboratories. The second area of accreditation comes to certification. Now, certification has a number of areas. You can certify you here on management systems. Okay. How are you running your management systems? Yeah? Okay. You have to have the processes, the procedures, and everything, and has to be monitored. Then there's the certification of products. Like for my brother Sam, the products have to be certified. To ensure that they meet the quality requirements of the standard. So the other certification area is for inspection. We talked about the SDS, we have Bureau of the Routers, we have what. And if we have our own here, and then we establish our, for example, our engineering services, an association of engineering to do inspection, and they get accredited, that would be another good thing. The other very key area of accreditation is for personnel. You know, personnel, for example, welders, in their experts, or medical practitioners who are removing whatever. Those have to be accredited. They are all international standards for that. So that brings me to the area of why do we have trust? Why does accreditation bring trust? Accreditation is done internationally, one harmonized standard, whether it is in South Africa, whether it is in the UK, whether it is, it's only one harmonized standard. That's why you can trust that, because it ensures you are competent in doing the services.
Yes.
For example, now I can bring an example how WTO, UNIDO, and other international organizations that deal with the quality of food and food safety and trade. Accreditation reduces non-tariff barriers. That means it enhances market access in international markets. So WTO has provided us, because of that trust, has said in its agreement, in one of the articles, 5 and 6, says if your product is being supported by an accredited certificate, or certificate from an accredited laboratory or accredited certification body, should not be rejected.
Okay.
That's why it is accredited ones, accepted globally.
Are there any barriers in particular that are slowing down accreditation uptake, for instance? Is it in the awareness? Because I like that we're having this particular conversation, but not a lot of people know that you know, certain industries should be accredited in order for us to trust them, and in order to say, hey, you can trust this food, or you can trust this lab, or whatever results you might be getting. Is there a fast enough uptake for the accreditation?
Yes, yes, you're quite on point. That has been the challenge we have been having in the country. Sensitization of the, you know, it is highly technical and professional area of standards. And people need to know about it. In some areas, they'll say, aren't you doing the same work like National Bureau of Standards? So, no. National Bureau of Standards is also one unit that is getting accreditation from South African Accreditation Service.
Yes.
So that means you need it. You
We
actually need it. So that is the one challenge. Two, of course, the issue is awareness is one, when the public is aware about that. Then two, it normally expands a lot more as the economy grows. Because there's certain, if you want to start trading globally, what will help you to access the markets is accreditation. So once you increase your value production chains and whatever, you will definitely need that.
It does sound like it's also in plan with the industrialization plan of the country that we have, and of course in the development plan that we also have. So this is absolutely necessary in that regard. In the industry, in health, for instance, and in the food industry, why do you think that there's not a fast uptake of the accreditation?
Yeah, I think it's basically because of lack of awareness, sufficient awareness, and mindset change. Over the past many years, I've noted that many of us Ugandans, we travel abroad, we sit in seminars, workshops, we study systems, but when we get back home here, implementation becomes a problem.
It's like it's for them.
So it is we need a complete mindset change. Recently, His Excellency, it came out of the media that His Excellency said he wants to ban the consumption of groundnut.
Wow.
Of course, I think we heard about it. Of course, groundnuts, because of the way they handle the source and so forth, they have high levels of aflatoxin. And from his mind, I think he was told and knew that there was a danger in that. Now, but who implements that? It is the bureaucrats in the different government institutions. And on our side, as the private sector, we want to embark on a new strategy. And that will be to work through the consumers. So we will do our certification, and then we present products on the market which are certified with a local brand and standard, and then it will be the consumer to make a choice. So we need to work quite a lot, but we are late.
Yes.
We are,
so to educate the
we
consumers.
We are more than 30 years behind schedule. Yes.
We're 3 years in. How about it from you, Patrick?
Yes, of course, he has mentioned something about the bureaucrats who implement some of these things. And earlier on, you were saying who should be accredited. You know, we have regulatory authorities, inspection bodies within government, which is, it's a mandate for them to do such things. But then sometimes they do it, of course they have technical expertise in terms of, you know, which food is supposed to be what. But the standards bit is lacking. So we are actually, as part of the awareness, we've been doing some meetings, symposia, and you know, and we've had meetings. In fact, some we had to invite them to talk to some people. We had meeting with Ministry of